So I'm now, well, let's hope this works. I'm now on my kid's computer, which is like literally 1/10 the cost of my computer, but my computer apparently lacks the capacity to live stream. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. Yes. On the upside, I just got a lovely email from a friend who cares about me, which is always nice to hear. Do I sound okay? Does this work? Are my two big questions. I left you with a real cliffhanger. Sorry about that. The whole thing is just a disaster because, oh, poor, yeah, because the whole point was to give you a fluid reading experience so that future viewers could go from one viewing experience to the next one fairly seamlessly. I guess that's now impossible. It's a little frustrating. I think we're all feeling a little frustrated right now. So maybe the solution is just to use my son's $189 computer instead of my extremely fancy one, which is unable to live stream. This looks better in every way, at least on my thing. So it takes a long time for this thing to load any documents, so it's going to take me a second. I'm not going to go back and reread everything I just read. Maybe I'll start from, I don't know where I should start from. Maybe I'll start. My whole big plan that there would be like one video and then you could go to the next video, but only people who, knew the unlisted links could go from video to video. My whole big plan is unraveling, friends. I don't like it when a plan unravels. So it was going to be like a serial, but a serial only for certain people, for people who knew the secret. That was the concept. It's all falling apart. But I feel bad leaving you in the lurch. Keanu shows up. There was some excitement and then nothing. No, that's not very fair. So I'm gonna try to do this if I can get it to load. If I can't get it to load, there it is. Los Angeles is the opposite of weather, etc. Hi.
What are you doing?
Well, I'm doing little live streams.
Right now?
Yes, secret little live streams. I've been doing a bunch of them.
Oh.
They're a little bit secret.
Watching...
We are going to watch it. I thought that you were. I was. Buy Sarah's book. Link in the doobly-doo. Sarah's here.
Seriously talking right now?
Yeah, it's live.
I thought we were watching Tiger.
We are going to. I was like 5 minutes away. All right, I'm going to finish this because I made a firm commitment to you people. Buy Sarah's book though. The link's in the doobly-doo, like we talked about before. That's the most important thing that you could get out of this live stream. All right. I'll be done in 10 minutes.
Okay. Cleaning up snacks.
Well, I don't know whose snacks those are. Somebody who's not doing a good job of making choices. Yeah. Probably less than that. I just had to get in this one line that I messed up. There was a big hullabaloo. You missed it.
Are you still talking to me?
Yes. And also I'm talking to multiple audiences simultaneously. I know it's a tight squeeze there. Sorry. All right. So there's this Bradley Cooper story. Where are we? Okay. All right. In the end, all right. So Keanu, they come to the theater. Keanu's there. And the director, Catherine, says, "How are you? I haven't seen you since Kim's wedding." And Keanu says, "I've barely seen myself since Kim's wedding." Then he saw us and hugged us together and told us he missed us. He smelled like cigarette smoke. He'd chewed Nicorette the whole time we were in Louisiana, but without ever quite quitting. He told me during one all-night shoot, "The thing no one ever tells you about smoking is how great it is. The jolt of giving into it. I need a cigarette, so I have one. Needing a cigarette is the only problem in my life I know how to solve." I'd asked him for a cigarette then, and he'd laughed so hard before saying, "No way, kid." "These are my kids," Keanu said to the people gathered about. "They're so brilliant. I can't wait for you to see them in the movie." I don't know why Keanu's talking like that. It's not even a movie, it's film. The theater was small, maybe 25 seats. Katie, the publicist, Ellen, and Studio Todd made introductions. This is Caitlin, the editor of the movie. This is Jill from The New Yorker. This is Tyrell from The Wall Street Journal. This is Mark from Entertainment Weekly. Studio Todd walked Juniper and I to a row of seats in front of the press, and I sat down next to Juniper. Keanu sat a few seats over, and then everyone else filed in behind us. The already dim lights grew fainter. I thought about the first time I met Keanu. The producers of the movie, Jenny and Lon, were in a van with me, and Lon was talking nonstop about how excited he was, how absolutely excited. Lon was absolutely everything, absolutely sure the movie would succeed, absolutely overjoyed to tell me I'd been cast, absolutely positive we did not need more coverage of that shot. The van stopped, and I got out last, and Keanu was standing there looking absolutely like Keanu Reeves. And he said, "Hey, kid," and then asked, "You a hugger?" And I hugged him around his waist, and he put one arm around me, and he said, "I used to be 19. He said it like being 19 was a debilitating illness you only sometimes survived, which had more or less been my experience. When the Paramount logo with that looming mountain in the background filled the screen, I felt a weird surge inside of me, something like happiness, but not quite. Juniper squeezed my hand when my name appeared in pale blue out of the darkness, and then for a second we were holding hands, but only for a second. If Katie, the publicist, had photographed that or nudged the reporter from the Wall Street Journal or something. In the movie's opening scene, Keanu and I are playing a video game together, and Catherine kept wanting me to move my body and arms with the controller, like I was trying to move the person inside the game by moving my own body. I didn't want to do it. It felt like my character was not the sort of person to make unnecessary movements of any kind. And in general, I wanted him to be really still, so there would be a big shift toward the end of the movie when he gets into a fight with his dad and he's just flailing everywhere. But Catherine really liked this idea of me trying to move my arms to move the person inside the game. So I was trying to do it, but it felt awkward. And also, it was only our second day on set, and I felt like the crew and producers were getting mad at me. Then after a few takes, Catherine told everyone to take 10 and brought me into the other room in the house where we were shooting. It was a kid's bedroom, and the crew had all kinds of steel rigging in there, but we managed to find a corner of this twin bed to sit on, and she said, 5 slow breaths in and out, nice and deep. I was looking at some kid's New Orleans Saints poster, wondering if he was psyched or pissed that his room was being used by a Hollywood studio, and I took 5 slow breaths in time with hers. Here's a story Bradley Cooper told me once, she said. He's such a philosopher. He said, when a human has a fight or flight response, they get stuck between fight or flight sometimes. A feeling is so new, it's so powerful, it's so overwhelming that they end up just standing there. It's not the decision that kills you, Kai. It's being between decisions. Yeah? Yeah, I said. It's like my favorite Onion headline, she continued. Squirrel's last moments, frantic, indecisive. But today, my lovely squirrel, you will dart this way, and you will survive. Catherine stood up, and I followed her. I sat down next to Keanu, and the crew returned to the cameras and lights. The boom guy picked up the mic, camera speeding, sound speeding. Catherine said, "Fight, action." And I fought with the controller, moving my body in concert with my avatar in the screen. She let the scene run a little long until Keanu and I were improvising jokes. And then she called, "Cut, great, we go again. Now flight, Kai, flight." And when everything was reset, she said, "Action again." And I played the scene like I wanted to, minimal movement, economy and everything, tight, close, interior. And when we were through the lines, she said, "Cut, beautiful, let's move on." Catherine used her version in the movie, of course, me moving the controller ridiculously all around, but it was a good scene. I found it hard to watch the parts of the movie I was in because I couldn't stop thinking about my face and my voice and how I sounded like an idiot. There's a meathead jockness to my voice that I just hate, something in the way I say the words themselves. I'm not even a good athlete. I just sound like one. But the stuff with Keanu and Juniper was incredible. Your heart broke for her. This poor kid stuck with a shitty life and a dead father, and you could feel the girl's rawness and her desire to conceal it. It made me think about how the most cynical people tend to be the most vulnerable because they can't afford to risk sincerity. The Juniper, who was sitting next to me, scribbled notes constantly into a tiny notebook. I kept looking down to try to see them, but it was too dark. I hadn't even thought to bring a pen and paper. Typical. I kept trying to figure out if the movie was good, but during my scenes, I mostly kept thinking about what was happening on the days we shot. I remembered the day Keanu invited me to his trailer to play a motorcycle racing simulator someone had sent him. I remembered the wet heat walking along the levee with him, and how we kept having to wait for planes to pass in order to get the audio right, and Lon shouting from behind the monitors, "You know, these goddamn planes have cost me $12,000 today. Do you know what $12,000 buys?" During the scene where my dad and I drink beer together, I remember laughing with Keanu about the ridiculousness of the fake beer labels. Keanu offered to pay the props master whatever it cost to get some actual Corona on set, and then I made fun of Keanu for liking bad beer, and Keanu said, "Can you even drink?" And I said, "Yeah, I can." And then he tilted his head way back and looked up at the ceiling while he laughed, like God had made the joke. I couldn't get my head into the actual movie at all, actually, until the last 20 minutes or so, the part that Juniper and Keanu and I were all in together. It got so gut-wrenching that I forgot about what had really happened and who Juniper and Keanu really were, and even who I really was. There's a scene near the end with Juniper and me where she totally falls apart and she's sobbing and screaming into my shoulder, which had been intense to film, but it was somehow much more intense to watch. I just felt so bad for everyone. The movie is really about what you owe the people you love and how impossible it is to pay those debts. And the whole thing just ripped me up until I started crying. I glanced over at Juniper and she was dabbing her eyes, but I didn't see any tears actually. She looked really pretty, the light of the movie golden gray on her face. By the time the movie ended, I was really crying. I wasn't even crying about the movie even. I wasn't crying about the movie even. I was crying because the kids in the movie were so fragile, and because everything fragile faces the same fate eventually. I think we'll stop there for today. Hopefully the sound worked this time and it's still recording. Okay. Probably going to switch out the beers. Just occurred to me. Maybe go with Miller Lite. Okay. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Sorry about the hullabaloo. Again, I'll see your comments later. So thank you for chatting while listening. And I hope you have a good night. Bye.